Namaskar. Across the globe, people are talking about what will happen in Afghanistan. And now, for the examination point of view, all the places related with Afghanistan is going to be important for any examination. The questions can be come in various permutation combination, related factors, related projects over there, related countries, natural resources, people, all the places which have been in news. So this video is basically for the basic understanding of the entire event that is happening nowadays in Afghanistan and the historical background also, that why the situation finally has come at such a place where the people are crying, people are leaving their home. Even the prime minister of a country has fled away to the nearby country in Uzbekistan. Even the militant top leaders are fleeing off the country Afghanistan. Then what will be exactly the plight of the common people who are not able to do anything? And as in the media, it has a wide coverage that the Taliban is taking over the country. It's capturing Kabul, other places, Herat, Mazar-e-Sharif, and any other places which are vital important in the history of Afghanistan is going to be in the hand of Taliban's leaders now. Children are crying on the street. Women are in constant threat of security. Men are fleeing over other countries. They are running. They don't know exactly what is going on into their own country. Perhaps this happens when the nation is not strong. So let's see the entire incident from a very factual perspective without being biased towards anything. We'll try to discuss each and every aspects related to that. So the first thing that comes in our mind altogether, that a powerful economy and a world power like US, America, why all of a sudden it is going to withdraw its entire forces from Afghanistan, right? So there is an entire discussion on this topic of Afghanistan, its present and what will be the future. Our chief mentor K. Siddhartha has done a recording both in Hindi and English for the aspirants of UPSC. You can watch that video in our Ensemble program as well as on various YouTube and CSTV program. So now come to the basic, why it is that the US pulling back. Maybe, probably, now the US realized that after fighting for 20 years in Afghanistan, the war is unwinnable. So sooner or later they have to, and it was bound to be dispersed from this place, flew away from this place. But the way they have withdrawn themselves from Bagram, the main air base point in Afghanistan for the US for past 18 years, is very drastical move by the US, because they flew from the place overnight without any proper handing over, without any ceremony to the place, and that is why the Bagram has came in news and brings the attention to the aspirants and the examiners as well. The second factor could be that it wanted a face-saving exit. America want a face-saving exit. Can you imagine that? It means that somehow the regional settings in Afghanistan is like a far beyond the control of America. Usually, America and Russia are two countries which usually invent in any region for the purpose that they are going to inculcate the democratic value or the human right protection in those areas. But what is happening now in Afghanistan has completely destroyed this idea of US protecting the people and protecting, upholding the fundamental part of a democratic state. So why is in the news is obviously that the US military and the NATO and the coalition forces has departed from Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan in July 2021 in an unceremonial way. This need to be mentioned, unceremonial way, because generally whenever the America left any places, be in Taiwan and be in Iran, Iraq, anywhere, they usually follow a protocol. But But in this case, they did not follow anything overnight. They just left everything behind in Afghanistan and moved away with their military personnel, only leaving 600 to 650 personnel in Kabul to protect their diplomats over the area. Or maybe they were planning that as soon as possible they'll take back all their diplomats out of the Afghanistan, and then the Afghanistan is all on Almighty. May Allah bless them now. For examining point of view, this is very important that you must know the exact locations of the places. So this is precisely map of Afghanistan, and Afghanistan is surrounded by Iran, Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, here Pakistan, this is China, this is India. Afghanistan, this is Kabul, the capital of Afghanistan. And just to the north, I'm mentioning to the north because maybe in the examination the places will be like here a dot, here a dot, here a dot, and then they can be arrange the place from east to west, north to south. So to the north of Kabul, this is Bagram, the main airport military base of US, America and the coalition forces in Afghanistan since 2001. These are some of the facts related with Bagram. That Bagram was primarily built by Soviet Union in 1950s, and it was a main base till the 1980s as the defendant its occupants in the Afghanistan. So mainly this was a base made by US, Soviet Union and later on by Russia as a base to control the inside military programs and the government in Afghanistan and protecting the people of Afghanistan that time during 1950s and 1980s. Later on, it was occupied by a Moscow-based Afghan government and then a Mujahideen administrator before eventually binding up Taliban hands in mid-1990s. So since mid-1990s, Taliban captured this Bagram area. After that, when in 2001, 11 September, the air incident World Trade Center was destroyed by the terrorists, the US invaded into Afghanistan and they took control of this airbase and make this fortified, well-equipped, settle a township kind of settlement over there and then occupied it, and since then they were there. But in July 2021, they left everything behind and they went back to US. Now, since we are reading about Afghanistan, so there is one associated historical interesting fact related to the place which you must know as an aspirant to UPSC and any other competition examination, that Afghanistan and Pakistan and India during British time was divided by a line, this line in blue color in map, I am marking it for you, and this is known as Durand Line. So Durand Line is a line, international boundary, which basically separates Afghanistan and Pakistan now, but it was built in 1893 by an American, Sir Mortimer Durand, in 1893 to separate Afghanistan and then British India. Later on, when 1947 the partition happened, it divided the Pakistan from Afghanistan. Another interesting fact related with this is Durand Line cuts through the Pashtun tribal area. Pashtun is a major tribes in Afghanistan, and you must know that Talibans are also Pashtuns. And further south through the Baluchistan region. And in Baluchistan, this region, basically this region is Baluchistan. And Baluchistan, they divide this area and the Pashtun area and the other tribal belts over here. So throughout the history, this American and the Britishers has a policy to divide and rule. Whenever they go anywhere, they divide the people, they divide the tribe. It politically divides ethnic Pashtun as well as the Baluch tribe and other ethnic groups who live on both sides of the border in both the countries, Afghanistan and in Pakistan. Now, we'll try to understand that what is the background of this conflict that has happened. Initially, when 11 September 2001, the US launched an airstrike on Afghanistan just 1 month after the attack in American World Trade Center. And that time, the Taliban were not giving the main person behind the attack, Osama bin Laden. So, in a revenge that the Taliban are not handing over Osama bin Laden to US, the US attacked Afghanistan. So from here, the war started in Afghanistan, and then the role of the US comes into the main picture. Then next, if US is going somewhere, it always try to influence the other coalition parties. So the NATO and the other coalition forces also joined hand to remove the Talibani power from Afghanistan. Then the Taliban is a group who will not settle like, okay, you come and destroy me. They retaliated with more force, with more agility, and they left no stone unturned to revert back, to attack on the militants, to attack on the civilians, to propose their Shariat laws in the area they dominated. So a tussle on a large scale started in Afghanistan by that time, way back in 2001 itself. But later on, the coalition forces in nearly 2014 loses nearly 3,400 militants, and by that time they realize that it is not feasible to have a one-to-one combat war since long. So what they decided, that they will not fight, they'll end the combat war. What they'll do, that they will teach and train the Afghan militants over there, so in a long run they can fight with Taliban and gradually they'll withdraw from this place. But the US continued air attack and the individual fight with the militants there. But the Taliban also revert back in the same thing, and by 2018 Taliban nearly capture 40% of the area in Afghanistan. So gradually since 2001 to 2020 they increased their power in spite of the coalition forces, the NATO forces and US pressure on Taliban. Then after 2014, the hardline Islamist group within the Taliban refused any talk with Afghan government and the officials for any kind of peace. And their main issue was that the Afghan government is a puppet to the US. Since the Taliban did not recognize the Afghans as their government, as their constitutional body, constitutionally elected body, they desired to meet the US official boycotting the Afghanistan government. And look at the cunningness of the US. They meet the Taliban separately, cutting out the US government. And then the same was followed with the 9 rounds of a talk among the US Taliban in Qatar in 2020. In February, and finally they decided that we will be doing a peace deal, and this peace deal agreement was signed, in which it was decided that the coalition forces and the UN will gradually remove their militant powers from Afghanistan, and in return the Taliban will not join hand in any other terrorist group operating in that area, for example Al-Qaeda. And in February 2019, a UN report said that nearly 32,000 civilians, nearly 58,000 combatants, militants and 42,000 opponents have been dying. So after this much of devastation, finally both the parties thought that okay, we need a peace deal, and this peace deal was known as the Qatar deal or the Doha deal. Based on that deal, now the US had to move out from Afghanistan, but in a phased manner, not the way it has currently fled off Afghanistan overnight. This is some brief information for you regarding the peace talk, and let's have a look at that. US signed a peace deal with the Taliban at Doha, Qatar, 29 February 2020. The deal paved a way for a complete withdrawal of foreign soldiers. complete withdrawal, minded in a phased manner over the 14 months. The deal was signed by US Special Convoy, then Maulana Abdul Ghazni Barardar, and then the Special Mike Pompeo as a witness. So they were the people involved. Maybe these are just an factual information for you in case there are any questions, so that you cannot miss the answer. That is why. If you don't memorize this, just have a look on these names, so that if it comes in examination, you can tick the right answer. That's it. And then beside the above, a separate joint declaration was also signed between the US and the Afghan government at Kabul, with a view to bring the end of an 18 years old war that was happening already in Afghanistan. The move is being widely seen as an effort by the US President Donald Trump election agenda, that since in America the public was not very happy with their soldiers dying in Afghanistan. So when Donald Trump wanted to have this election in America, he promised to the citizen of US that if he be elected, he will take back all the soldiers to the country, to their families. So that is why this deal was important, and the US make this deal to Taliban that okay, this is going to be happen. So it was also political move by the Donald Trump for the election. Then followed by this highlights of the Doha deal, the US and its ally will reduce its forces in Afghanistan from 12,000 to 8,600. These were the numbers that they decided, okay, this much of militants we will be keeping there to train the Afghanistan and to secure our national personnel and diplomats in Afghanistan. And for the next 135 days, they will be moving out of the country. The US and its NATO allies have agreed to withdraw all their soldiers from the Afghanistan over the months of nearly 14 months, and then provided the militants uphold their sides of the deal. If the militants will stick that they will not spread the terrorist activity, they will not join their hands with Al-Qaeda and other Al-Azhar kind of or ISSI kind of a terrorist group, they will withdraw their forces. Then in this deal, there was also a section that the prisoner swap of 5,000 Talibanis will happen, and nearly 1,000 Afghan soldiers will happen commencing nearly to the March. In March 2021, the US also promised that we will lift all the sanction that has been made on Taliban in UN, and US will make a move in UN to repose and revert back all the sanction that has been given to Taliban and mark them as a terrorist group. So they will be out of this category, that they are not terrorist group as per the UN. In return, what the Taliban will do? The Taliban has only promised that okay, I'll make sure that I will not join hand with any other terrorist group or the extremist group operating in the area I have authority. Wonder. Like US and coalition forces believe Taliban for this promise, and for this promise they made all those things. So you can understand that there was something which was happening way back, and the plot was already going to be set in 2019-20 itself, that this is going to happen in future, what is happening now in Afghanistan and to the local people. That is why we as an Indian should always be very careful when any other foreign forces are trying to dominate us and trying to help us. In the name of help, they may snatch our dignity, the national integrity. So always be with those government who are nationalists, because when a nation weakens, no one is coming to save you, and Afghanistan is a live example in our hand. So make sure that anyone who wants us to break India, we are not going to support them at any level, at any cost, because we don't want it to be the next Afghanistan in the history of the world. Now see, even after this Doha deal happens, there were some challenges that how these things will occur and what are the lacking points in Doha deal. So these are the brief information for you. Number one was that the inherent problem with the deal is that excludes the Afghan government. Okay, that's the main deal, because you are excluding someone who is an elected person in the country. It means you are not giving due value to the rule of law. So this is an inherent problem with this deal. There is again no reference that how the constitution norm will be applied in the country. So there was no clear cut guideline. The Taliban had made no promise in this Doha deal that they will abide by the rule, not by the Shariat. So the security of the women, the closing of the schools and opening of the schools for the children's security, there was no security, and no one's even bothered to make sure that these things or this point should come into this agenda. No mention in the deal has happened that Taliban will not discriminate on the line of religion and ethnicity. Usually the Talibans are very rigid and a very conservative group. So they usually did not even allow the people from the different religions to be respected to aspire for a higher goal. Then there was one more fear that the ethnic fissure from the tribal areas were hard to control. There were many ethnic groups prevalent in the area, but for their security, there were no means zero level awareness, zero level commitment was given for the ethnic groups. So there was a chances that even after that, they can occur an ethnic fissure into the country. And then the withdrawal of the US troop from Afghanistan can witness a very resurgence of a militant in the country. And this is already happening. Like now, the Taliban is slowly capturing the every important places in Afghanistan. And it was already in the view of the critics of the Doha deal that this deal is not for the security of Afghanistan at all. There is also a possibility that the Afghan National Security Forces can join hand with Taliban and they can disintegrate the national security itself. The same thing that has happened in Pakistan. The Pakistan military is a kind of a terrorist military group. So let's see what happened next and what is the fate of Afghanistan is now. So now, what is the implication of this peace deal or so-called peace deal, which is not anyways bringing a peace to Afghanistan people and the world anyways. So the implication of the peace deal for Pakistan. Pakistan is a country who is extremely happy with this, because Pakistan was the country who made Taliban, who has always supported Taliban. Sometimes it has played a double role. One side it is showing that, okay, I'm not involved in any terrorist activities, I'll not support any terrorist group, but it has done throughout the history. Pakistan has played a very, very vital role in the brokening deal between the US and the Taliban. And it is the Pakistan who provided the strategy for the deal and who is literally the creator for long-term benefactor of a Talibani government. If Talibani governments come in Afghanistan, it means it will be a kind of a puppet and a friendly government for Pakistan. And then the Pakistan can use it against India. And this is highly risky for our national security. The declaration by the coalition forces in 2014 to annual combat operation in Afghanistan saw a systematic increase of Pakistani influence in Afghanistan. It means since 2014, when the Pakistan says that the coalition forces are in mood to withdraw from there, they are active in Afghanistan. The reason for the same is that a stable pro-Pakistani regime in Afghanistan will help Pakistan not only economically, but also it helps them to deal the Baluchistan insurgency in Pakistan, which is going on and which is an ulcer for Pakistan since long. So Pakistan in this case is always in a win-win situation. He'll only gain out of it. there is no loss for Pakistan at all. This is a brief description about the role of Pakistan in reviving Taliban. Pakistan was one of the 3 countries, including US, that had recognized Taliban as a group in 1990s. The Taliban captured much of the country in Afghanistan with the help of Pakistan only and the support of Pakistan. After 9/11 attack, Pakistan militant president Mr. Musharraf was under the pressure of US to hand over Osama bin Laden. That time the Musharraf said that okay, we are cutting all our ties from Taliban. But he did not do it. He played a double game. What he did, one side he was supporting the American agenda, and on the second hand he was having a friend with Taliban, and he helped all the Talibani for a cross-border movement. Pakistan successfully expected this group to launch terror activities against India. And since long, in the POK, in the Kashmir region, the terrorist activities that are going on, there is a big part and a big role played by Pakistan, and under the influence of Taliban, they are taking help of Taliban and doing all these things, terror activities against India. Again, there are some economic factors for this peace deal importance for Pakistan as well. A crucial portion of the CPEC. CPEC is China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, and the Gwadar port lies in the insurgency-affected Baluchistan province of Pakistan, and this Baluchistan province is long demanding self-determination. If the Taliban takes over Pakistan, then Pakistan can easily manage this Baluchistan movement inside Pakistan. And again, if you look at this map, this is Gwadar port. This is one of the strategic important port in the Southern Ocean, in the Atlantic route, and this is very near to the Suez Canal as well. So this area is Pakistan. In Pakistan, from north to south in nearby Gwadar port, China is building China Economic Corridor. Here they are building an economic corridor. Along this corridor, China is investing a lot. So if Afghanistan will be weak, this area will be stronger, and this is economic benefit for Pakistan. If it comes control under Taliban, then Pakistan will have a hold over Afghanistan, and India will always have a lower position in Afghanistan in that case. So the China and Pakistan will gain economically out of it, and the Baluch insurgency can be better dealt by Pakistan, of course, if Taliban takes over Afghanistan. So peace deal has a good vibes, both economically, socially, geopolitically for Pakistan. China is the another benefactor of this peace deal. China has invested nearly 60 billions in Chinese Pakistani Economic Corridor, CPEC, and China has a very wide policy for building road across the globe. So this is a part of that. Consequently, in order to safeguard its interest, China may leverage Pakistan influence on Taliban to propel its strategic project like the Belt and Road Initiative. So again, if you look at this map, this is the CPEC corridor. Along this corridor, here this is the Gwadar port. This port is primarily operated by Chinese investment, and China can use this port, Gwadar port, as their military base also, because China is investing so much in Pakistan, then Pakistan economically can never pay back to China for the same. So whatever Chinese wanted to do in Pakistan, in the area of Pakistan, they can do. And Afghanistan is rich with the minerals oil, with the so many rare earth element, and if the Afghanistan comes friendly to Pakistan or sub by, controlled by Pakistan, then ultimately China will also be getting benefit out of it. So this is main thing. Another thing is this area will be settled, the Baluchistan things will be settled. Once this country will be a calm place, the economic benefit of China will always grow. And China want that CPEC for the bigger sales kind of corridor economic projects, and he wanted to make it stronger in the world, so that it can earn more money and it can have a very dominant position in Southern Asia and Southern Eastern Asian countries. And this is not, of course, good for us, because Chinese are not our brother. They have always been our enemy. They have spreaded corona to the humanity. So we cannot trust Chinese anyways, but the situation is like that we are helpless in controlling at present this situation. So we are just studying about it, that the situation is as it is. Another thing is, in order to safeguard this interest, China will try to influence the other regional party also to support Pakistan. And if it gets successful, this will be highly negative for India, because Indian neighborhood is already going to be anonymous, going to be more tussleful, but we need peace. So Chinese influence and the greater influence in Pakistan and neighboring country is not helpful for India at all. This is a layout for the Gwadar port in Pakistan. So as you can see, this port has a so wide construction, and now this project is on boom, because this is going to be operating a major operating port and a hub worldwide if the Pakistan gains momentum in Afghanistan. Now we will see the implication of the peace deal for India. What is at stake in Afghanistan for India after US exit? That is the main question for us and for our interest as of now. If we look back since 2001 to 2020, we will see that India has invested a lot into the Afghanistan reconstruction, to support the people, to support the local economy. So many things we have done. All the construct work we have done. We have tried to have a good relation with Afghanistan, because Afghanistan's location is a very critical for India access to the Central Asia as well as to the European nation, because with Pakistan we don't have a good relationship. So Afghanistan is a gateway towards that. In order to have this friendly relationship with Pakistan, we have done so many things in Afghanistan since long. In this chart, this is a summarized chart that what India has done in Afghanistan so far. Let's begin with the economic development. Private investment we have done into Afghanistan, such as through the Indian-Afghan trade and investment show in 2017. So economic benefits are there. 116 new high impact community development projects are running there in Afghanistan from Indian government. Humanity assistance, we have done a lot of humanity assistance to Afghanistan. Supply of 1.1 million wheat to Afghanistan. The Indira Gandhi Institute of Child and Healthcare we have inaugurated there. It is a 400-bed hospital in the country to support the healthcare system in Afghanistan. We have done the capacity building program. More than 3,500 Afghans undergoing various training programs in Afghanistan and even in India. So India is doing every bit to support Afghanistan since long. If suddenly Taliban took over the Afghanistan, then all this project will come at halt. In the following slides, we will be discussing each and every project in detail, their location in detail, so that in examinations, anything if asked, for example, the Salma Dam, the highway project, the location issues, all the other projects name, you will be aware of it. So let's discuss that one by one. To begin with, what is at stake is Salma Dam. Salma Dam is also known as Afghan-India Friendship Dam. This dam has a megawatt 42 power and it is supposed to irrigate the 75,000 hectares land in Afghanistan. This is a map of Afghanistan. and this is location of Salma Dam. These locations are now important from examination point of view, and maybe the small facts like which dam is known as Friendship Dam. So you must be knowing that it is Salma Dam, location of the Salma Dam, and what is the capacity of it, and for what main purpose it is serving in Afghanistan. The another thing that we have done is from here to here, this is Iran. From here to here, India has built a highway which is known as Zaranj-Delaram Highway. This highway helps India to access Central Asia via Iran. This is a kind of a link highway that India is building in Afghanistan, and this is critically important. If you see, this is a border of Iran from Zaranj-Delaram Highway. This is a break of bulb point, and from here we can come to this port location. This port is the Chabahar port in Iran, and just nearby that, a distance of nearly 72 kilometers only, here is the Gwadar port of Pakistan. So if India is having a strategic importance at this point of the Chabahar port, we can equivalent the port of the Gwadar being developed by the Chinese. So this is also at stake. This is strategic important. It's very important for India for the trade and for the access of the Central Asia. And Central Asia is a growing area in the world for exploring market as well as for the natural resources. Another thing is that from Mazar-e-Sharif, this location is important because recently the Taliban has captured Mazar-e-Sharif. Mazar-e-Sharif is an area where the Uzbeks tribes were prominent, and this Mazar-e-Sharif is a religious symbol in that area. It is believed in their province that whosoever hold the power in Mazar-e-Sharif can run the country. So now Taliban has captured that, and even the main leaders of the Uzbeks have fled away the border in Uzbekistan. So the main resistance, which was supposed to be the main opponent and the fighting group within Afghanistan, was Uzbeks leader. Even they are not there to resist Talibanis now, since the Taliban has recently captured the Mazar-e-Sharif also. So the location of the Mazar-e-Sharif is also important for various examination point of view. Mazar-e-Sharif, Salma Dam, Herat. Herat is another important location in Afghanistan, and it has been in news because from Herat to Kandahar, Kandahar also has been captured by Taliban recently. From Kandahar to Ghazni, Ghazni to Kabul, and Kabul to Mazar-e-Sharif. This ring road is mainly the development route of Afghanistan, and entire places Ghazni, Kabul, Mazar-e-Sharif, Herat and Kandahar. At present till September 2021, Taliban has captured all those locations in Afghanistan. So these all locations are automatically comes under importance for examination point of view. So you must be knowing the precise locations of these places. Again, a power transmission line from Uzbek border to Kabul over the Hindu Kush mountain, and this line is operated by multi-agency, and this is Turkmenistan, and from here there is a transportation line is being developed from this area to this area, and in between there here is a location south to the Mazar-e-Sharif, Phul-e-Khumri. So Phul-e-Khumri is also an important location because there is a transmission line and a gas pipeline towards the Kabul. It supplies energy to Kabul, and this all area has been captured by Taliban, and these all areas have investment from Indian government since long. So that is why these details, this information is important for you. In Zaranj-Delaram Highway, the estimated cost is nearly 134 million US dollar. So you can imagine if it is captured by the Taliban, all money goes in water. or everything is when if it's being captured completely, and the chances are that it will be going into the hand of Taliban sooner or later. In this map, you can precisely see the importance of the Chabahar port of Iran to India. This is the location of the Gwadar port. Gwadar port is being captured by China, and this is into this Arabian Sea part. Okay, so if India is having a control of this or access to this, which since we have a good relationship with Iran and this port is being operated since 2017, and India have already started a cargo ship from here to the Kandla airport in Gujarat. This is the location of Kandla airport. So this location is very important to us. This is Zarang Dhelaram National Highway. So this is a bulk point for us, and from here we will have an access to Kabul. So this was a highly visionary project for the government of India to assess Afghanistan, even to use the resources of Afghanistan by doing all this developmental work, cooperative development work, supportive work, and then access to the Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, and all this area. So this was an access bypassing entirely Pakistan. But since the Afghanistan is going to be under the influence of Pakistan and Taliban, are all projects in Afghanistan take a hold, and this is a negative sign undoubtedly for India. So the location of Gwadar port, Chabahar port, Kabul, these things are very important for any upcoming examination. You should be knowing their exact location and their importance as well. Coming towards this, these are some other economic benefits. These already we have discussed about the Friendship Dam or the Salma Dam. The highway has been discussed. There is the nearby Kabul, Afghan Parliament building was also constructed by India, and it costed nearly $19 million. It has been inaugurated by our Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, and this is an image of this parliament. So all this investment, all this goodwills that we have done in Afghanistan will be zero. So Doha deal and this peace deal was not at all peaceful for India. This is a summarized chart for your revision work, that what the work we have done and in Afghanistan mainly. So let's discuss and pinpoint it one by one. Economic work, joint working group on trade, commerce and investment, air freight corridors. We have seen the map Herat and Kabul. From Herat to New Delhi and from Kabul to New Delhi, India has new true freight corridor with Pakistan, and that includes the export and import of textile as well as the dry fruits, pharmaceuticals. Afghanistan export includes agriculture and other commodities. Socio-cultural linkages that we have with Afghanistan are India's diaspora in Afghanistan are wide, and the main thing, the sentiment of the people of Afghanistan are highly tinted towards India. Like even local people were there who recognize that India is doing something good to the people of Afghanistan. So all this goodwill that we could have harnessed into a good amount of profit out of it, that will be at halt, and that will be negatively impacting now to India after Taliban captures Afghanistan. There are some strategic important. The Tapi pipeline. Tapi is Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan and India. Although the Pakistan permitted for the pipeline, but if the Afghanistan and Pakistan becomes a one kind of terrorist organization countries, then the Tapi pipeline will be at halt, and our access to inroads of the Central Asias will be negatively impacted. Rare earth resources are in Afghanistan, and now China is investing a lot even to buy these fields, gas fields, oil fields in Afghanistan. So this is also an added loss to us. And we had a good membership. Afghanistan was a member of a SAARC country, and so does India is. So we have a good relationship, strategic partners, but every effort that we have done will go zero if the Taliban completely capture Afghanistan. Then we have this security building over there, like Indian government was training the national security force in Afghanistan, and we have donated a lot of arsenals and guns and weapons and other medical accessories as well as for the military accessories to the government of Afghanistan over the year of last 20 years. Developmental work, we have done a lot of developmental work, and this is the prime area where India has invested in Afghanistan. New development partnership we have done. We have MOUs to exchange the personnel, to extend the cultural things, to rebuild the infrastructure over there. Construction of the Salma Dam and Afghan parliament is part of the same thing. We already have discussed about the military and geopolitical implications of the peace deal for India and for China and for Pakistan. But this is a brief summarization of the fact for you, and let's have a look at it. It is in the best interest of India to have a counterweight approach of Pakistan, to counterweight the importance of Pakistan in this region via developing Afghanistan. But again, this is now, the chances are bleak that we are going to do it, because already we are seeing that the Pakistani dream is going to be true in Afghanistan. Pakistan is bound to try tooth and nail to curtail India's influence, whatever influence India have right now in Afghanistan, by the fear psyche, creating a fear in the minds of the developmental work over there. But India should continue the development work there, and firstly it should try to save its personnel. Pakistan Taliban has also formed a new group which is known as a Jamaat-e-Ahrar. So this is an added thread. If this would happen, then what will happen? A new terrorist heaven will be created in Afghanistan, and that is a threat not only to India but to the humanity at large in coming times. So for the entire world, this is not a safe place. But for Pakistan, and that Pakistan which is now in a doldrum condition from economic point of view, it's an economic gain, it's a strategic game, and it is a military geopolitical gain for Pakistan. This we already have discussed, that China can also leverage Pakistan and Taliban against India, using all his power and the work and the pressure in the region. Apart from that, the other groups and the FATA, mainly the FATA area, which is already an insurgent group in Afghanistan, can grow more and more, and this can be a safe haven for the terrorists across the world. These are the short summarization of the entire discussion that we have done, that what is the China's double game, what is the interest of India and Pakistan, and we will be providing you with all those slides so that in examination you can read one by one, and you can instead of memorizing this, you can understand the entire thing. This is present situation in Afghanistan at present. After the agreement was signed, the US put pressure on the Afghan government to release thousands of Talibani prisoners. Once they released the Talibani prisoners, they again started accumulating their power, capturing the new areas. So this is a failure. Indeed, a Doha talk was a failure, and it is a breach of trust as well, because the Taliban is not at all giving space for the peace. Indeed, it is spreading its Shariat law, and it is spreading terror among the people of Afghanistan, and not only to Afghanistan, even as a human being, when we are looking at this thing on media, on other platform, of course, we are not feeling good about it. Now, the things comes up. What should be the India's future strategy now? Like after knowing all this thing, what we can do? Probably there is not much for India to do at present, but there are something that still we can do. As we have seen that almost entire area now, Mazar-e-Sharif, Kabul, Herat, Kandahar and other important places have already been taken by Taliban. So India have few options left in hand. The first thing is that India must withdraw its diplomat and its personnel take back home safely as soon as possible, and Indian government is already doing it very well. The moment US withdraw and exit from Afghanistan, India started calling off their personnel, their diplomat, and taking first flight from Afghanistan to New Delhi. They are coming back. So we are saving our personals. India-Afghan policy at a major crossroad now. Safeguard our civilians. The asset that we have there must be saved now. Some people are nowadays making a hue and a cry that India should send their soldier over there in Afghanistan. It is not a viable solution at present. Our soldiers are for our own security, for our own country security, for our national security. Sending our soldiers to a different alien nation where already turmoils are going on is a kind of a suicide game for our military personnel. Our soldiers are our pride. We cannot send them to Afghanistan at present. And even in Afghanistan, we have no security for them. US and the other forces are pulling out their soldiers. Are we fooled that we will be deploying our soldiers over there? So this is not at all a viable solution, and India is very clear about it. Even our external minister, Ministry of External Affairs, our defense minister have cleared this stand that India still will do the constructive work. We will still be carrying out with our positive attitude. We are not going to send our soldiers to Afghanistan. Of course, we are going to rescue and we are going to save our Indian personnel and diplomats and investors and other people who are residing there. One more thing, that since long, India is not considering Taliban as a person, as a group to talk, because India has thoroughly believed that they are terrorist group, and our national policy was always against terrorism. We are not like Pakistan, who say something, who do something. We have always been a peace-loving people, and whosoever spread terror, we have not talked to. Although it was a diplomatic failure as of now for India, that looking at the gaining power of Taliban, we have no talk and no communication with Talibans. But unfortunately, now India must open talks to Taliban for its own national interest, because if Taliban will take over Afghanistan, and at least we will in a position to talk to Talibans, which China and Pakistan have done long back. China was a country who was supporting the Afghan government also and Talibans also. So he always make himself in a position strategically that whosoever will win, I will be with them. Although we are not double-faced people, Indians are not alike, we have not done this. But looking at the current scenario, we have to now open a dialogue with the Talibans, because the Talibans are the reality of Afghanistan as of now. Another thing that India must do, countries like Russia and Iran, who have a good reputation with us, with India. So what India should do, India should talk to Russia, Iran and other friendly nations that rising of the Taliban in Afghanistan in this manner is not only harmful for India, but it will be harmful for the regional peace as well, and it will create an detrimental impact over the year for Russia and Iran as well. So India should diplomatically, technically talk to Russia and Iran to have a hold in Afghanistan and let not Afghanistan slip completely into the hands of China and Pakistan. So in this manner, to some extent, we will be in a position to safeguard some of the goodwill, some of the work, some of the economic development that we have done so far in Afghanistan. So this should be the future strategy of India. We must focus on the constructive side. We must not be sending our soldiers to Afghanistan to do any kind of a work or rescue things. Of course, we should rescue our personnel. We should involve in a diplomatic talk with the nation who are powerful like Iran and Russia for controlling Taliban in Afghanistan and lowering down the impact of Pakistan as well as for China. In summarizing the entire part, we can conclude in these following points as conclusions and as a revision as well, that United States has a vital interest in preserving the many political, economical and security gains it in Afghanistan that have been achieved in Afghanistan since 2001. But after the exit of US, everything has put on hold and everything is at stake now. Now every stakeholder and every country that was involved in Afghanistan will have to do something of their own. A resurgence of the Taliban insurgency could once again turn Afghanistan into a terror haven. Undoubtedly it is, and this is already visible to us, and we can see all those news, all those negative news, terror activities of Taliban in Afghanistan every day on the internet and over televisions. Moreover, internal instability in Afghanistan could have large regional ramification as Pakistan, India, Iran and Russia all compete for influence in Kabul and with subnational actors. So that is why here we were talking about that India should clump up with Russia and Iran, and they should try to get hold of Taliban to some extent and in Afghanistan as well. So let's see where this game is going to be. Taliban are the current reality of Afghanistan. This is so true, and it is for India to decide what role it wants to play. Whether we wanted to talk to Taliban or we just completely wanted to boycott it. Boycotting it is not a visible solution as so far, because we have some investment over there, and at time when it is a need, we should talk to no matter what. It is a time for India to engage with Taliban for its own security and for its own interest. It is not for that we are promoting Taliban or we are promoting terrorism. But when times comes, you have to think first for your own interest. And if our interest is talking to Taliban, we must do it. Much hope is being set on the Doha talks. That Doha talk will bring peace, which was happened between Taliban and America, but the chances are bleak now. It is not going to bring any peace in Afghanistan as of now. India also needs to reassess the policy choices that we have in close coordination with Russia and Iran, constantly reminding them that the complete surrender to the Taliban demands will be detrimental to the own security of the entire region. These are few projections that what could be the possible future from here now in Afghanistan. See, we are always hopeful, we are always optimistic people. So somehow we feel that, okay, something can happen magical in future. So these are three scenarios which we think that can happen in Afghanistan in any scenario, and the situation can turn. The first situation is that there could be a political settlement in which the Taliban and the government agrees to some power sharing mechanism and jointly shape the future of Afghanistan. But since the Doha talk and since the Talibanis has been registered throughout the past experience that they did not recognize the government in Afghanistan, so they will talk, and power sharing options are looking at a blink chances. It's very low, and even the Afghanistan president is fleeing away the country, then Taliban is anyways gaining this momentum that okay, we can control the entire country of our own, then why we will share the power. So these chances are bleak, but still we can hope that maybe in future something happens like that, and this can happen. Two option is all out civil war. The chances for this are anyway seeing out that people will be fighting with each other for everything, military, and then Taliban will fight. The other options is, and the third option, that Taliban taking over the country, and this is now unfolding, and unfortunately this may going to happen in future, which is not at all a happy news for India and for humanity as well. These have been references which have been used in making the PPT as well as the entire write-up. So if anyone wants to read and verify any fact, they can go through all these references. We have consulted a wide references for this article. Now, this is a task for you. We want you to answer this in comment section if you are watching that, and if you understand the topic, and even if you have any difficulty in understanding anything, you can comment and write to us. So now can you answer? Can you understand as to why the world is making hue and cry over the exit of US in Afghanistan? Think about it, elaborate this. What will be the future of Afghanistan if it slips into the hands of Taliban? So imagine about it, gather some fact, read some news, read some article, and write on your answer and comment back to us. How can India now safeguard its interest in Afghanistan and in tackling the security and insurgents in border area? How will the world peace be restored after this incident of Afghanistan? Do you see that the UN is a complete failure in this case to restore the peace again? It means the role of the US, the main body that was constituted after the Second World War for the spread of peace and for making every country peaceful and in cohesion, has again failed, as the incident of Afghanistan is running and we are all in pain. Thank you for watching. Knowledge is wealth that create awareness. Keep learning, keep knowing. Stay happy, stay healthy, and keep learning from Ensemble. Namaskar.
To have more such discussions and analysis, subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon for notifications on our upcoming videos.